What's the best camera of 2023? Does it come from Canon, Sony, Nikon, Panasonic, or even OM Systems or Pentax? What do you think is the best camera of 2023? Well, stick around after this short message as we explore the best camera of 2023. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. 2023 wasn't exactly a big year for cameras, but we did get some noticeable solid candidates for best camera of 2023. Does Sony get the win for the A7C II or the high-resolution A7CR? Two cameras that updated the A7C, a camera still on sale today. And what about the A6700, a camera that borrows a lot of technology from the Sony A7S III, a camera released back in August of 2020. The year got off to a big start. In early 2023, Canon released the R50 and the Canon EOS R8, both solid candidates for best camera. The Canon EOS R50 is an affordable stills hybrid camera that's comparable to the Sony ZV-1, with oversample video, computational photography, and a price tag of $679, while the Canon EOS R8 is arguably Canon's low-cost full-frame camera, the most affordable full-frame camera in their lineup if we ignore the 2019 Canon EOS RP. But before Canon made their announcement, Panasonic had their own announcement. Panasonic was late to the market with a phase detect autofocus system, but was first with a camera announcement in 2023 with the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX. These were Panasonic's first full-frame cameras to provide a phase detect autofocus system. And that phase detect autofocus system gave us hope, a great anticipation that great, we were having the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX, but we knew that the S1, the S1R, and the S1H would also get a refresh relatively soon, hoping we would get it by May, and well, towards year end at the very earliest end, that certainly didn't happen, but we're hopeful for 2024. Anyhow, back to 2023. Nikon did announce two cameras in 2023. The Nikon ZF, a cool-looking retro-styled camera that got announced in the middle of the year. And then, of course, in May, there was the Nikon Z8, Nikon's answer to the Canon EOS R5, a camera released back in 2020, offering enhanced capabilities over the Canon EOS R5, including a stacked sensor, better low light, dynamic range, and better color rendition in low light. Well, to help narrow things down, I conducted a poll, and just 5% of you thought that the Sony A6700 was a worthy candidate. 6% thought that the Fujifilm GFX 100 Mark II was the best camera. And while the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX got more attention at 16%, it didn't capture as much market excitement as I thought. Canon did better with the R8, getting 24% of your vote. But an overwhelming majority of you, around 50%, said that the Nikon Z8 was the best camera in 2023. And you know what? I agree. I mean, the Nikon Z8 is a terrific camera, and I look at the Nikon Z8 and the Canon EOS R5 as being, well, very similar cameras. In fact, the Nikon Z8 is far closer as a competitor to the Canon EOS R5 than it is to the Sony equivalent, the A7 R5. It has much of the same capabilities as the Canon EOS R5. It can do 8K video up to 30 frames per second, but the Nikon Z8 can actually push past that, going to 8K at 60 frames per second, 4K 120, something that the Sony A7 R5 doesn't do. And in terms of stills, shooting 20 frames per second, lossless RAW, and all that wonderful stuff, but having a stacked sensor, that's really big. All the Canon fans out there that are interested in getting the EOS R5 Mark II are really hoping that it's going to have a stacked sensor, because a stacked sensor gives us certain benefits. It gives us the ability to, well, improve dynamic range and low light performance, color rendition at low light performance, and increased dynamic range, even though I can't speak properly, but stacked sensors give us an awful lot of baked-in goodness. Now, a BSI sensor would still be good for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, but that stacked sensor in the Nikon Z8 really helps set it apart in terms of capturing sports or any sort of fast action photography. That stacked sensor really comes in, and it helps reduce rolling shutter. I said this when I covered the Nikon Z8 live stream back in May, on May the 11th, that Nikon has a hit with the Nikon Z8, and it sold very, very well since it was announced back on May the 11th. Month after month, it's been doing well. It's been showing up in the top 10 stats of Japanese as well as North American camera companies, or I should say camera retailers. I like the Nikon Z8. I could see this as my primary camera if I hadn't have already purchased the Canon EOS R5. And who knows, maybe in 2024 I might pick up the Nikon Z8. I think it's a terrific camera, but that's not to say that all these other cameras that we talked about from Panasonic aren't good cameras, or Nikon or Sony. I'm really happy, and I was really happy when Panasonic made their announcement in the first or second week of January, coming out with the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX. Both of those two cameras having a phase detect autofocus system. And you might be thinking like, yeah, so what? Big deal, everybody else had it. And they did. But you see, here's the thing about Panasonic cameras. They're very video-centric, offering capabilities that many other camera companies, including Sony, Canon, and Nikon, OM Systems, and Pentax, don't do in their cameras, and only now are starting to come around. You want waveforms? Well, if you have a Canon, you need to get a Ninja 5. Same with the Nikon Z8, getting waveforms, vector scopes, false colors, and a lot of these other tools are slow to come to other camera companies where there's something that had been available on Panasonic cameras. So to take all those strong video capabilities and a company that long before Canon started releasing 12 firmware updates for a single camera such as the R5, well, Panasonic through their Lumix division have been doing it for a long time, providing updates to their cameras long after they were announced, giving us enhancements, new capabilities, and impressing and creating a loyal customer base. So to have a phase detect autofocus system with those capabilities has an awful lot of people excited and looking to the S1 series to see what may be coming. And there is a rumor that we are supposed to be getting some new Panasonic cameras in the first half of 2024. And we predict that most likely we're going to see an S1H Mark II and an S1/S1R, and maybe those two models will be combined into a single camera. And that certainly makes sense, because if we look at the Nikon Z8 and the Canon EOS R5, they've pretty well taken all the capabilities that you see in those two distinct Panasonic cameras and put it into each one of those other cameras. And Sony? Well, Sony's already announced the A9 III, saying it will be available for sale. Well, it'll start shipping in spring. Now, I don't know if that's going to be March, April, or May, or maybe even they might let it out of the barn doors a little early, and we might see it in late February, right after CP+. Well, we're also supposed to be getting some other cameras. Now, the A7S4 is rumored not to be coming in the first half, but could potentially come in the second half. We're hearing some noise about it, but the big noise right now is about the A9 III, but also an FX camera update. An FX3, FX6, or maybe even an FX9. We're not sure right now, but Sony Alpha Rumors is certainly on it, and we can probably expect more information from them. And then, of course, there's Nikon. The Nikon Z9, released a couple of years ago, their flagship mirrorless camera, is supposed to be spinning off a variant that's designed specifically in time for the Olympics, designed all about fast action, high-speed photography, or high-speed subjects, capturing all that. And it's supposed to have a resolution half that of the Nikon Z9, so similar to, well, the Canon EOS R3 and the Sony A9 Mark III. So we'll have to see what comes out there. And of course, Canon, we're expecting 2 major camera announcements. Actually, let's say there's 4 major camera announcements by Canon. The first big announcement is supposed to be the successor to the Canon EOS R5, the R5 Mark II. If Canon puts in a stacked sensor and does some other upgrades, this will be a top seller. We're also supposed to be getting a bunch of lenses for the RF mount, announced in the first quarter as well. And of course, the Canon EOS R1, Canon's long-awaited flagship mirrorless camera, is due to be teased starting in Q1. Now, when it's going to ship, well, we can guarantee you it's going to be at least no later than Q2, because it's designed for the Olympics. Every single 1 series camera is released just before the Olympics, because that's its primary target, is sports and fast action photography. So what else? That's 3 items, right? What's the other item that we're expecting from Canon? Well, it might not be an announcement by Canon, but a huge announcement that will affect Canon. According to Sony Alpha Rumors, and now Canon Rumors, or is it the Camera Insider? I can't remember. But what we heard, could be the Camera Insider, that we are getting a big Sigma announcement in February about the Canon RF mount. That would be a big deal. The Sigma 60 to 600 millimeter to go head to head against the Canon RF 200 to 800 millimeter. Or what about some of their primes or zooms or other super telephotos like the most popular lens based on what you've told me in your recent polls? The 150 to 600 millimeter. There's a lot of goodness baked into what Sigma produces, and that would be a huge announcement. That would be a 1, 2, 3 punch. R5, new lenses, R1, and then of course a Sigma announcement. So 2024 is looking good, but as far as 2023, hats off to Nikon. You did a great job with the Nikon Z8, but let me know what you think in the comments section down below. What do you think is the best camera? And tell us a little bit why, because other people like reading the comments and understanding and gaining insight. And if you're interested in purchasing any of the cameras I've talked about or other lenses and camera gear, then consider using my affiliate links to Adorama, Adorama, B&H, and Amazon.com. These ones right here, and I also have them in the description. And if you use these affiliate links, I get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, and that really does help support the channel. It's going to enable me to buy the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the R1, and some other lenses. I already picked up this guy right here, the Canon RF 200 to 800 millimeter, thanks to your support, so it's greatly appreciated. And also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on X because, well, I'm always tweeting out really incredible deals. Like right now, Sony has a sale. This sale is recent. It's on the A7 R5. That's right, the A7 R5, it was announced a year ago, a year and a month ago. It started shipping a year ago, and it's $400 off. I've got the link in the description down below, $400 off the A7 R5. That's the best deal I've seen on that camera since it was announced. And now's a great time to buy some cameras. You've got all sorts of wonderful cameras out there. Do you like Sony? Great deals there. What about Canon? $900 off the R5 and the R5C. We got great deals on the Nikon Z6 Mark II, the Nikon Z7 Mark II, various Nikon lenses. Panasonic, we're seeing anywhere between, how much is it now? $400 to $1,120, depending on what packages you get for the S1H, the S1, the S1R, and even the S5 Mark II is on sale. So a lot of great deals out there, but that's it for now. Have yourself a great week, and if I don't see you before Christmas, have yourself a happy Christmas, a happy New Year. But I'm going to be shooting all along. I'm going to be keeping busy over the next couple of weeks to keep you informed of the latest and greatest, and hopefully before Christmas we either get a firmware update for the R5, or what I'm really hoping to see is some leaked specifications or images or even pricing on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. After all, we're just about 2 months away. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.